American Craftsman Podcast is sponsored by Hayfla. Hayfla offers a wide range of products and solutions for the woodworking and furniture making industries, from hinges and drawer slides to connectors and dowels, sandpaper, wood glue, shop carts, and everything in between. Exclusive product lines such as Lux LED lighting and Slido door hardware ensure that every project you create is built to last. Learn more at hayfla.com. Additional sponsorship provided by Ridge Carbide. When you need the right saw blade for the job, put your trust in Ridge Carbide Tools. For over 50 years, Ridge Carbide has been producing industrial saw blades designed with the exact specifications for the cutting results you expect. Before you buy, call us and we'll help you determine the right tool that meets your needs and your budget. After the sale, Ridge Carbide provides sharpening services for all your saw blades, dado sets, router bits, and jointer planer knives. Located in Kansas, Ridge Carbide Tools provides high-quality products with outstanding customer service at a fair price. What are you cutting? Enjoy the show. Welcome back. I got to trim that intro just a little bit because I was ready to come in.
I think that was a pretty good shout for Ridge Carbide. That's a long one.
Yeah. So I re-recorded that this morning and I'm looking at it on this and, you know, you can see how it's like a timeline. And I'm looking at the Hayfla one. I'm looking at the Ridge Carbide one. I'm like, man, that's pretty long.
How many seconds is that?
Well, we're at 1 minute and 40 now. So They have to be like, I think Hayfla's maybe 30. Ridge Carbide's got to be close to 1 minute.
Wow. 1 minute's a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while. I'm trying to think of the last episode that got released. It's got to be 8 or 10 weeks since an episode came out.
It was The Boys Are Back.
Oh, yeah. It was Rob and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess before the rumor mill goes around or dispel any questions in anybody's head, just explain, you know, what's going on. So Rob did end up retiring, all on good terms. Rob and I are still friends. We still talk all the time. He just, you know, he's at a point in his life where it's hard to do this kind of work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm 56 and I think Rob's got a few years on me.
Yeah. 62.
Yeah. So, I mean, you start to think about how to wind this down and actually doing what I do over on my YouTube channel, meeting someone like you who's 20 years younger. What are you, 36?
35.
35. It's like finding a new energy, right? Because when I was your age, I was building a business. I think I started it maybe. I was probably in business about the same amount of time as you are, about 4 or 5 years. And just full of energy. But at some point, you know, it starts to change a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it working with like somebody who's excited to build their business and you're at a very young place in your life with a young family. It's pretty cool. And doing the YouTube channel, that's been about 12 years. So that's another scenario where you start to get a little bit of a burnout and you're like, how do I find a way to make this interesting again?
Yeah.
You know, so, this is John Peters, by the way.
If you didn't recognize the voice. But yeah, so John and I, we've been talking for a couple weeks now about like, you know, how we should do the podcast together now. We can use it as a way to sort of talk about what we're doing with today's craftsmen. And it helps me out because I lost my podcasting partner, and it helps today's craftsmen out because now we have a way that we can talk about, you know, A, what we're doing, and B, like it's interesting, the sort of the business side of YouTube and social media and all that stuff. So
for sure. I mean, we're starting to build now with today's craftsmen, and the next step is to get some sponsorship. I'd like to start off with some long-term sponsorships. I think it's a great opportunity for some good brands. I think that people who are tuning into today's craftsmen every Saturday morning are tradespeople, people who are actually building stuff, not just sort of scrolling by and seeing what's going on. And I think that that's an audience where there's a real potential to actually buy a product like Hayfla or Ridge Carbide or any of the products that you or I use on a regular basis. And I think that's sort of that's always been the way I wanted to go. And I can tell that it's the way you want to go too, which is to find a product that you've been using that's already proven and then try to get them on board.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? And so if you follow us on any of our Instagram pages, you'll see that we're not pushing brands, but we're like, for instance, I did a caulking video. Today I did a caulking video, and I know that you use Sashko's Big Stretch Caulk and some of their other products. And so when I cut the caulking tip, I made sure that the way I was going to be using the gun, that the label was front and center.
Yeah.
And that they would see that, and then I would tag them in the video and also tag them in the stories and just get on their radar, because there's nothing like working with a company where you use their product, because then it's effortless to make content around it.
Yeah, and it's genuine. It's not like brand X sent us some caulk and it's like, now we got to make a video talking about brand X caulk. It's like, I never used it. I don't know if it's any good. There's a little bit of like a sleaze factor about like trying to show something that you can't confidently say is good,
I totally agree. And I think that the fun thing is, so if you're watching the channel, you know that 99% of the camera talent is Jeff. And it's fun for me to shoot because I know that Jeff can talk about just about anything in a very confident way with a great way of articulating the subject. And so even if we get a sponsor that is something that we've been using, that's great, because then you can make a video that doesn't even have to be related to caulking. But at the very beginning of the video, you can talk for 30 seconds with some B-roll. And I think that our viewers will put up with that because it's just sort of it reminds me of like this old house. And
it's good information. You know? It's like getting someone who you trust's seal of approval on something just removes the whole question of like, man, what brand of caulking should I buy? Should I buy DAP or Sashko or whatever?
PhenoSeal.
Yeah. It just makes your life easier when you can just be like, okay, I trust what John and Jeff say. I'm going to try this out because I need to buy some caulk.
Absolutely. And so that brings me to the other side of periodically we'll be contacted by people who want to give us things to just make a video.
Yeah.
And I think at this point in our channel where any money we can bring in is important money, because right now we're just doing this.
Yeah, there's sweat equity.
Yeah, we're just putting in the sweat equity at this point. So we did the laser video, but so I know nothing about lasers. If you know me, just the tech guy. I'm the old school woodworker here. And I thought you gave great information on that, and it was really very realistic information. But at the same time, I didn't think you weren't saying like, oh, I'm going to use this all the time now to make stuff. Right. And I think that everybody realizes like, okay, they're going to make this video with this thing and then try to sell it and help pay the bills for the next thing that comes along.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was probably one of the most difficult videos that we shot, because had to like get this new thing, set it up, learn how to use it. And then you have the company behind who's like, well, you got to show this and that. And you know this, but I don't think anybody else knows, they were kind of like pushing us they wanted to see more things. They were like, oh, can you cut out this like side table? I'm like, no, like, listen, the video needs to be concise, to the point. It needs to showcase this in a way that people who watch our channel might use. Otherwise, they're just going to turn the video off.
Absolutely. It was funny. They sent Jeff back this list of requests after we shot the video, fulfilled everything on the like little punch list. And I was like, that's ridiculous. It's good as it is. And Jeff's like, yeah, that's what I fired back. And then they said, yeah. And I mean, at that point, what do we have to lose? You know what I mean?
Yeah, what are you going to come take the laser back? Take it.
Exactly. So it's cool. I'm enjoying the change in my schedule and coming over here. And I'm always up for learning. And it's neat to kind of have your mind opened at my age, because there is definitely truth to, you know, old dogs, new tricks, or whatever it is. So I just learned something today. We just shot a video on scribing, because our last video was on the work van, and Jeff was talking about the power plane and how he uses it for scribing. And during the video, you said this would probably make a good video. And there was a few comments saying, yeah, we'd like to see that video. So that's what we shot today. And you want to just talk about the tools that you use? Because I've always used the pencil compass thing. Yeah. That's what I've always used. And when you brought out this way that you did it, I was like, well, yeah, I just learned something new. Yeah. So like ever since I started, I used that Fast Cap black scribe, which is basically just like a fancy compass or divider, whatever. A compass, I guess it would be. So that's how I always scribed. It was with a compass or that Fast Cap. I don't know what they call it. Fast scribe or something like that, probably. It's just a black plastic compass, basically. But I've been seeing for years guys using a marking knife and these mag shims from Fast Cap. So they're just little plastic shims that are an 1/8 inch and a 16th inch they have. And I've used other little things to make up the difference if I need to have like a 30-second. But basically you take as many of these magnetic shims as you need, you stack them together, you stick the marking knife onto it because it's magnetic, and you use that with tape, and you cut the tape, remove the waste side, and then you just work up to that tape line. And I've been seeing it for years, and I finally, like a couple months ago, was like, wow, why don't I just try this? You know, it was just one of those things where, you know, you're only on install so often, and you're kind of set in your ways, and it's like sometimes introducing something new is just like too much to handle. Sure. So like do what you know. Yeah, yeah. Because installs are like stressful enough. So ended up switching over to doing it that way, and it works great. To me, I mean, it makes total sense, because that line, you can't miss the tape line. Where with a pencil line, you know, it's kind of faint, especially depending on what you're trying to transfer that pencil line onto, if it's a dark piece of wood. So yeah, I thought that was a good one. Of course, there are some areas where you're not going to be able to use it. Like you mentioned in the video, like on a brick wall or a stone wall, you're still going to have to break out the compass. But for, it seems like 90%. Usually just up to the wall. Yeah, it's usually just up to the wall. Yeah. What the hell was I going to say? Oh shit, I lost it. I had some point I was going to make, but did you use that scribe on the last cabinet, the kitchen job you did? You want to talk about that kitchen job at all? Yeah. What the hell was it? I forget. So yeah, we wrapped up a pretty big kitchen in Avon by the Sea. So that was I want to say 35 cabinet boxes. Pretty big kitchen. So that was like a super tight timeline job, and then had some delays on my end, some delays on like manufacturing end, but came out good. I was glad to be done with that. That was like the last thing really holding me back from being caught up. And that was all cut on CNC. Yeah, so used a new CNC guy on that. We shot a video on that a couple of months ago, and had some issues with, you know, having not worked with this guy before, had some issues with sort of his setup. I'm actually emailing back and forth with him today because he's getting ready to cut another kitchen for me. Where's that going? That's going in Ramsey, so up Bergen County, and he's going to be cutting my kitchen. So, yeah, that'll be nice to finally have my kitchen cut. That's exciting. Yeah. I was telling my wife, I was like, yeah, Jeff designed his kitchen. She's like, could he design our kitchen? I'll ask him 6 months from now.
Yeah. Well, no, it's nice to finally be caught up. Because now I'm finally caught up going back to February.
Jeez, yeah. You were in a real push.
It was bad. It was rough.
Yeah, I know. My son Walter worked for you a few days. He helped with that kitchen.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
I actually, for the first time, like the day, so we just shot a video about shed I just got. The day it got delivered, I had that and some other stuff going on. And it was like I sent Walter and Cameron, who there's like so much new information in this episode. Cameron is my apprentice who I hired about a month ago. I sent Walter and Cameron to this job, and it was the first time as a business owner that like I had people working on a job and I was like off doing something else, you know?
Well, technology helped with that because I was talking to Walter about it. He goes, yeah, I had to FaceTime Jeff a few times. And I said, holy cow, I didn't even think of that. But that really probably set your mind at ease. Like you could actually see the job without being there. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I know Walter found it like an invaluable experience. And he said, wow, installs are a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. They did a good job.
Yeah, that's good.
They got done like more than, I gave them like this big long list thinking like, yeah, they're not going to get all this done. And they knocked out a lot of stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you had Jackie working here a little bit then. I remember because she's in the video. I think she's in the background of the video where you're putting some of the, I think we shot a video on assembling one of the CNC cabinets.
Yep.
So if you want to see that episode and you haven't seen it, it's right there on the channel.
So I had Jackie from JM Studio as her business. She's busy now, doing her own thing, but I had her, I had Walter, I had Rob DeMarco came out, helped me twice. Rob came and helped out a couple days.
Yeah, because then you had the boxes too.
Yeah. Yeah, so the 500 salt boxes, so the whole debacle with the laser going down and then having to buy the new laser. I think, that I talked about. I think we were in the middle of finishing up the boxes when Rob came to do the podcast last. Finished up those like second week of June, just a couple weeks late, which, I felt bad but there was nothing I could do.
At some point, there's just nothing you can do. It's just, and what are you going to do? Beat yourself up? Drive yourself insane? I mean, It is what it is.
And, I had to bring in all these people who had never done it before. So they're working at 1/3 the speed of what Rob and I could do because we've done it 2,000 times. If you've done a process 2,000 times, some of these things, some of these processes, one box has, you might be doing the same process 6 times or 2 times so thousands and thousands of repetitions. There's no substitution for that. So after material and buying the new laser, I was all out of pocket for everything else. Literally, I paid for those boxes.
I'm sure.
So now I have to bring in, Jackie, Walter, Keith, Rob DeMarco, all these people. And I was glad to have the help, but now I have to pay people to do it at a slow speed. It was like crazy, So then I couldn't just like buckle down and do the boxes because I have to do other work to keep bringing in money.
Sure.
It was crazy.
Well, it's nice to have that behind you. You're going to take a vacation this summer?
I'm going to Atlanta in a month, actually a month from Sunday. So I'm going to IWF the 7th to the 10th. And I'm going to be looking at some CNCs. My goal is to have one in the shop by the end of the year.
Wow. So you'll be cutting your own kitchens.
Yeah.
Would you cut kitchens for other woodworkers?
We talked about this a little bit, you and I. It's not like something that I want to focus on, but it's definitely something that in the beginning, as I'm trying to ramp up the business to I want to put out a kitchen a week if I can.
Wow.
And it's going to take time to get to that point. So in the meantime, I think that's a totally viable way to pay for the machine,
Is that where the kitchen business is going? All CNC, all...
oh, yeah. It's been there for a while.
It's already been there.
Yeah.
So when you and Rob were making cabinets, so what are you going to use this... What will be your use for tools like the Streebig and your planers, you're just going to be using them anyway, and just regular woodworking that has to go along with all the other cabinetry work that you do.
Yeah, like you always have to produce fillers and toe kick and stuff like that. So like, let's say we cut a kitchen out. You can cut the toe kick out on the CNC, but let's say you don't want to, or you run the program and a piece is wrong. You don't want to have to sit there and program something to cut out a rectangle. So you bring it over to the Streebig, you break it down. It takes you 2 minutes versus coming into the shop, sitting down, programming the file, putting it on the machine, So for sheet goods, I definitely, want to keep the Streebig around. It's an indispensable tool. And, there's always parts that need to be cut, things that need to be remade, shelf needs to be trimmed,
sure.
Whatever. Even with the CNC jobs that we've gotten, there's always something that needs to be modified. Something either gets programmed wrong or gets damaged or whatever, or site conditions change.
Will you approach more builders once you have the CNC running? Do you think you'll put some kind of marketing thing together where builders can find you easier and be like, oh, there's another avenue if we need a kitchen made, especially around here, because it's a very affluent area.
Oh yeah,
in the whole Rumson, Fairhaven, and there's just a ton of builders who seem to be busy all the time.
Yeah.
So if you get with 2 or 3 builders, it seems like you'd have plenty of work.
Yeah, and to be able to do these at a somewhat reasonable price because of the automation of having a CNC. Removing all of that labor, you can knock your price down a little bit. You're going to end up making more profit and taking in more work because you can offer it at, a lower price.
Because you're doing a lot of the design work now yourself, do you feel like will you still be working with as many designers, or would you be working directly with the client, or a little bit of both probably? Because sometimes the client doesn't want to deal with, the client doesn't know enough. And they're busy in life anyway. Mm-hmm. So I guess you'll work with whoever wants to take on the job.
Yeah, whoever calls, it's like if there's a designer, sometimes, it's a double-edged sword. It's like sometimes having a designer on the job is a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. The kitchen I'm working on right now, it's like I've worked with these designers for years, but this job has been like a nightmare, It's like there's this roadblock between you and the client.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a simple question like, oh, can we do this with the lighting? And it's like 3 days. And you're like, hey, do you have an answer to that question? Hey, do you have an answer to that question? It's like, whereas I would have texted the client and said, hey, can we do this? Yes. Okay, let's move on. And the whole money thing, it's like, they're taking a cut. So it's like, that money should be going in my pocket.
Yeah.
Because if there was that much value in it, they're not bringing the equivalent value to what they're getting out of the job. They're just tacking a percentage on top of my number.
Yeah, and they're not troubleshooting anything where you have to make sure it will work.
Yeah.
They'll have an idea, but you have to make sure that that idea actually works in the space, which is, that's where the real difficulties come in. Mm-hmm. Because I don't care if it's new construction or renovation, there's always some kind of give and take. Not everything is possible.
Right.
And you have to look for the best solution. There's some kind of compromise.
Yeah. I'm going through that with my own kitchen. I have windows and spots, and it's like, the sink wants to be centered on the window, but if I put it dead center on the window, I can't get a trash pull out. Can't get a trash pull out next to the sink. It's like, I have to make it a smaller base, and I have to shift it over a little bit. It is what it is.
Did you ask your wife?
No.
Smart move.
Yeah. I told her, I'm like, we got to get a new sink. And because I was doing a 36 inch sink, which is big.
Is it undermount or overlay?
I bought an apron front.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's undermount, but I'm nixing it for just a undermount.
An undermount. So your countertop will go over it a little bit.
Yeah.
And you'll put a silicone bead around the inside. Yep. And what's your countertop's going to be?
Probably just like quartz, something inexpensive.
I have to redo my kitchen at some point, but we have a Corian top, which is not, it doesn't look great, but geez, it's held up. I mean.
Oh yeah. Corian's nice.
I would do it again.
It's not that cheap.
No, it's not cheap at all, but it holds up. My oldest son is going to be 27, and we've been in the same house, and nothing's been taken care of. I mean, 4 kids. I would do Corian again, but I've seen quartz, and I think quartz looks really nice.
Yeah, like Wilson they all make like a quartz product now. It's basically the same thing, I feel like.
That's what I was thinking.
Is quartz just like cultured stone? Is that what it is?
With some binders in there?
I don't know. But I wouldn't do like a marble top. First of all, like a lot of these very expensive countertops look out of date in 10 years. You know, if you do something somewhat. Oh yeah, if you did like a granite with like red in it, like 15 years ago, now you're wanting to rip it out. Corian's pretty easy too. That'd be a cool video.
Well, maybe what, you know how to cut Corian?
Oh yeah.
Cut it on the street bake?
Yeah.
Really?
That's a huge tool for solid surface guys.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of them use that.
Yeah. I would love to have you over just to look at the kitchen, because right now it's just me looking at it. There's nothing like a second pair of eyes. It's amazing what a second pair of eyes can see. Like, I don't care what it is, what you're, a piece of furniture designing, something you're doing in the landscape, because you just don't think of everything. And we're probably sticking with kind of the layout that we have. But I'm replacing the windows actually now in the kitchen, which they're really in bad shape. I ended up going with Anderson replacements on, I think, 5 windows, which is extremely expensive. I don't even want to say what it is because I feel like I probably am paying too much.
Installed or just the windows?
Installed. So they're going to be installed from the inside.
Yep.
And so they got to be, they have to be manufactured.
Yeah, I had mine built by Suburban Aluminum over there on Leonardville Road.
I thought about doing something like that, but I wanted to do like something really nice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to keep the existing trim. So I'm taking the prior owner was funny because he was a surgeon, and everything he did was so half-ass, which is sort of counterintuitive to being a surgeon.
Yeah. And
he replaced the windows with like the cheapest windows you could probably get. And then he covered over all this kind of nice molding that was like the softening on the house comes out 2 feet. And then the windows go almost up to the softening. There's a little bed molding that goes around the casing at the top. And it works. I mean, ideally it'd be nice to have another 6 inches, maybe even another 6 inches of brick and then the softening, but that's not what I have because I have 8-foot ceilings. Anyway, they just went over everything with the crummiest aluminum job you ever want to see. And then they went over that with like this terrible silicone caulk with like, there's nothing smooth about it. So I'm ripping all that out. And just by ripping that out, I already feel like I know a lot more just by seeing what's behind it. So I'm kind of prepping all the trim on the outside. I'm actually going to remove all the interior trim. And then they're just going to come and put these windows in. And I feel like I'm paying more because I'm kind of going to school. And I'm looking at what they're doing. I'm like, okay, maybe I won't do this for the other windows in the house, but here I just needed a kick in the ass to get this thing started.
Yeah.
And I'll go to school on it.
Well, you get the Anderson, Renewal by Anderson flyer in the mail about twice a week.
My wife got that and she made an appointment. And she's like, oh, the guys are coming out at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. This is last week. And I'm like, oh my God. And once the guy's in the house, it's like, you got to buy something.
Oh yeah. It's like high pressure sales.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay.
They're like, here's the price and it's only valid right now.
Yeah. And then he's like, well, let me look at all your other windows. I'm patting myself on the back for just keeping them in the kitchen. So I'm like, I'm not doing those now. I'm just doing, and I may end up doing those on my own, the ones in the rest of the house. But ultimately, I need to replace all of them, which I think will be a huge benefit, not only aesthetically, but for noise,
It's pretty easy.
That's what
You kind of just put them in, and then the molding holds them in.
Yeah, just to stop molding. But the question for me is, where do you get the windows?
I got them from Suburban.
No, but I mean, if you want like a nice Anderson window, because Suburban's a vinyl window, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted like the whole divided lights and everything with the metal on the inside. And
yeah, I'm not sure. They might do like nicer ones than the ones I bought. The ones I bought are equivalent to like a Silver Line, I think, Anderson.
Okay.
They're like not the cheapest, but they're pretty cheap. They were like $100 and change a piece.
Jeez. I'll have to look at what you're doing. I'm going to go to school and learn from you, and we'll see what I do going forward.
You could probably go to a place like Tower Window, and they might not be Anderson, but they probably have a brand,
And so when you had your windows made, did you take off the interior trim and then just give them a measurement and then not take your windows out until your new ones were ready?
Yeah. Yep.
So you just sat with the house without any interior trim for a little while?
Well, my kitchen was gutted for like...
But that's how you got your true measurement?
Yeah.
So you just took those stops off. Did you take the windows out and then measure and then put the windows back in?
No. You just measure, outside to outside.
All right.
Or you can give them the rough opening size and they'll deduct, whatever.
All right. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that. And because we have brick siding, I don't know. It's just been something that's been in the back of my mind that I wasn't really thinking about. And now it's been pushed forward. And like I said, I'll get these ones done, kind of pay probably way too much for it, and then deal with it going forward.
Yeah. I was just telling you about having those stumps ripped out. Like now I'm like addicted to having other people do stuff. I'm not going to have the money to do it forever, but so I had my garage ripped down, paid somebody to do that. The shed, paid somebody to build it, deliver it. My wife and I ripped down these 3 big bushes, a lilac and I don't know if it was 2 lilac and 1 butterfly bush. Anyway, massive, like as long as this room and 12, 14 feet high and like about the size of this freaking room. Ripped it all out. And I got 1 stump out on Saturday. I've had this tennis elbow since May.
Ooh.
And I'm like, if I do these other 2, I'm going to be like, I was chopping them into quarters with the Sawzall going around. And they were still like, those things have been there for a long time. I'm like, if I rip out these other 2, like my arm is never going to heal.
Yeah.
So I paid somebody to come rip those out.
How'd you find them?
I put a post on Facebook.
Wow.
And it was like, the messages just come flying in. And then when you find somebody, you just delete it.
What are you paying for the stump removal?
So he did that, and he cleaned up a bunch of brush out of the ivy behind my shed, because that's where I was getting to the fact that we're doing a fence. That's why I had to rip the bush out. So the 2 stumps, getting all the stuff out of the ivy, and disposal, $385.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. It's so worth it.
Yeah. It was brutal. I mean, getting that thing out was brutal.
But see, it's pretty easy to hire something like that, because how can they screw it up?
Right.
Where hiring like somebody to work on your house.
Yeah, that's different.
It's so different because first of all, I don't really want anybody in my house that I don't know. And second of all, the prospects of getting anybody who's got any talent who's going to answer Facebook Market, they're probably working for somebody.
Yeah, this is like, Keensburg Facebook page. I'm like, just anybody with a pulse who can come just like muscle these things out of the ground.
That's it. And you're buying muscle, that's fine.
And like so I also paid somebody to take away all this the bush that we ripped out. I could have taken it to Canes Lane, but I drive to Tacoma. It would have been like 6 trips, so I paid $250 to have somebody take it. It's like I have enough stuff going on.
Sure.
And I just got over being way busier than I care to be, like in the shop before 6 o'clock every day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. So like, I'm okay with spending $250 to have somebody take that away.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it needs to be somebody you trust when they're working on.
Yeah. I just don't like people around my house. I just have that feeling. I like, I don't know. There's something about that.
So we had Hunter's birthday party on Sunday. And my wife is like talking to the other mom. She's like, oh yeah, we need to set up a play day. We're going to have the fence done. They're supposed to be doing it at the end of this week. I'm like, I don't want these kids or anybody at my house.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to avoid that. Your kids open up a whole social thing.
I'll put like a porta-john outside.
Yeah.
It's like, there's the bathroom. Don't go inside.
Good luck with that. Yeah, your kids open up a whole social, all of a sudden you're having friends and families and parents that you wouldn't necessarily have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're in your life. And that's just the fact. And your kid's 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So
if it was just the kids, that's fine. But I don't need the parents at my house.
No, I hear you.
I don't need to be buddies with anybody.
No, I hear you. Who's got time for friends?
Yeah. Even at the party, it's like my son is really good friends with our neighbor, this girl, McKenna. They're super cute. They're like best buddies. So he's been going over there hanging out. My wife will go over there, for a little bit and chit chat. And she's like, Brian's really cool. Like, you guys would really get along. I'm like, just stop right there. I'm like, I don't need any buddies. Like,
it's funny if you find somebody that you actually have something in common with and it just naturally happens. Well, that's fine because you're doing some kind of activity.
Yeah.
But as you get older, it just seems like, especially with a family. And so I've got 4 kids who, if they're going to come to the house, because they're not always around now, the boys, that's who I'm making time for.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're mountain biking or fishing, I'm probably not, or woodworking, not even that. Mostly mountain biking and fishing. I don't have time.
Yeah, like, what am I just going to go? We're going to go hang out and drink beer in the garage? Like, that's not really my style.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's not my style.
I don't have time for that anyway.
Yeah.
No,
I'm with you 100%. Let's talk about some of the things that we want to do with Instagram, because I just want to throw this out there. So there's a couple channels that everybody knows that just blow up, which means they're not just blow up, but they've been blown up for a long time. So like Kruger Construction.
Yep.
I'm sure he's getting paid a lot of money and getting a lot of free product.
He's been around for a long time too. Like, I remember when I first got onto Instagram, I was a trim carpenter at the time, so I was more into like the construction stuff. So it was like him, Toolaholic, all those guys, and they've just really like lasted.
Well, so I'll look at some of these accounts to try to get some ideas for our channel, and it looks like. Do you know his name? Kruger Construction. Not that it matters, but it doesn't seem like he talks very much. He mostly just shows the product. He shows it in action.
Like stories and stuff he will, but...
Oh, does he?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I don't follow too many stories.
Man, why can't I think of his name? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Dusty Lumber Company. He blew up, and not only did his Instagram blow up, but his YouTube blew up.
Somebody sent me one of his reels yesterday, and they're like, man, I can't believe SEM is working with this guy.
I don't even know what SEM is.
Oh, SEM, like a big machinery manufacturer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that just shows you that I'm already retired. I got my little wood shop in the backyard.
Like the Edge Banner at Timbers, SEM, SEMI, Garmini Max, same parent company, Italian machines.
But there's no reason why. See, that's where I think with you and your vocabulary of all these machineries, I think this is all a total potential possibility. And that's what I'd like to do, is at least try to get 1 or 2 shorts for YouTube and for Instagram up a week at a minimum. I mean, it'd be better to get 4 to 5. And I think if we push it, we can get there. And it'd be interesting to see if we can really grow the Instagram.
Yeah.
Because it's just nice to, any income that you get, any extra income is, in your case, goes to the rent. In my case, just goes to general overhead. You know what I mean? It's like, and then that also sort of spurs on a whole like level of excitement. Okay, let's do this. That's kind of the problem with Instagram, though, is that you sometimes, it's almost like gambling. You get like a little hit and you're like, wow, this really did good. I'm going to do a bunch of videos. And then you get a bunch of duds, which don't seem like they're very different from the one that was a hit. Like for Instagram, it's like that little miter sled. I think that's a few million, right?
That one's like close to 1 million, but the pocket hole is that it's getting to 2.4 million.
Oh, okay. Well, because of Facebook.
Yeah. Like 1.7 million of those views are from Facebook. We're getting a lot of Facebook Reels views, but they're They're not Facebook reels. They're Instagram reels that are being shown on Facebook.
See, I don't understand how those two work.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Yeah, it'd be great if we knew somebody who like actually knew the ins and outs of Facebook.
Yeah, I started trying to post reels directly on Facebook as well. But I don't want to like do too many at once because it'll like,
Can you, I thought there was something against posting the same reel to Facebook as you do to Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know. I figure because it's the same company, it's like.
Yeah, there's no obvious rules.
They should just cross post, but they don't.
That's what I thought, yeah.
They're just like recommended on Facebook. So if you go on Facebook and you might hit like a Reels section, but they're Instagram Reels on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, if anybody knows what the ins and outs are, let us know because it would be good. I'm sure that we're not capitalizing on any potential AdSense from Facebook.
Yeah.
And I know some guys make some good money on Facebook.
Yeah, I think you need, I forget, is it 5,000 followers on Facebook to monetize?
Oh, is that what it is?
Something like that.
But anyway, so that's kind of what we'll be doing is focusing on some tools, getting some fast edits up there, but also informative. Like I think that describing video is a good informative video. Yeah. And a lot of times you only need 13 seconds to tell somebody to show somebody how to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to have both the junk food Instagram version and the long format on Instagram where, if you really want to know. Some people, like we were talking before about sort of like who our audience is, like people who are actually looking to learn something. They're not watching, whomever. I won't even say.
Yeah.
I had a couple names popped in my head, but I won't say. Who it's like all entertainment value. Like they're watching these quote unquote woodworking videos just for pure entertainment. They're not in it to learn any like hard facts. But that's what like we're trying to push is like actually something that's informative and you can learn something. But it's nice to have like the less informative version on Instagram and on Shorts. And then if you want the full, it's there for you,
For sure.
It's like you have to play the game.
Definitely. So it's getting hot in here, so I think we're going to wrap it up. Let's. So Jeff's got an air conditioning in the office here, but we turn it off for noise control.
Yeah, it's loud.
And it's like a sauna in here right now. But we wanted to let you know what's coming out this week. So we do have 2 videos coming out this week, and I think today's Tuesday, so we'll have. What do you think? Wednesday? If we have 2 videos, we'll stick to the Wednesday Saturday schedule.
Yep.
Always the main video always goes out 8:30 a.m. on Saturday mornings Eastern Standard Time. So this week we are shooting a video on sheds, buy or build, and Jeff goes through all the information on what he thinks will help anybody make that decision and what helped him make that decision. And then I think we already mentioned it, but Saturday will be how to scribe and use a power plane to scribe.
Yep.
So that's what's coming up, and I'm excited. And the nice thing is, next week I'll be texting Jeff throughout the weekend or Monday morning. What do you think? And usually the ideas just come up. Oh yeah, this is what I'm working on. So let's shoot a video about that.
Yeah, yeah. It's all very organic. I think there's some people sitting with like a storyboard and a 6-month outline of like, okay, we're gonna do this and then that and that. Which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's nice for it to just be sort of spur of the moment. And
I totally agree. And I think some other exciting things coming down the road. Hopefully we'll be able to get to a point where maybe every 4 to 6 weeks we visit a woodworker. I can think of Tim from Truth Trade.
Yep.
I'd love to see his shop. He's such a talented guy.
Yeah.
Corey from CT Woodworks.
Yep.
And there's a bunch I'm sure I'm forgetting.
Maybe the guys down at New Doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got it in with a guy over at Conestoga, which is like maybe the country's biggest door manufacturer. Like there's so many cool places. Get like a little inside look at small shops, big shops, manufacturers.
And that gives a fun factor for us, which this also has to be about.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun.
Yeah, you can't just grind it out in the shop all week,
100%. So I'm ready when you want to wrap it up.
Yeah. yeah, I guess welcome back to the show. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. It's fun being here.
If you enjoyed this episode, please tell a friend or share it on social media. You can leave a review of this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And don't forget, today's Craftsman YouTube channel has an upload every Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you next week.